Hey everybody, Brian Von VA here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Today, we're going to be talking about what is the most beloved NPC that you've ever run, part 3. And if you have an NPC you'd like to share, please do so down in the comments below. Lil Keith. He was a halfling orphan child that helped out some of the more important NPCs around Phandalin. I figured the party was going to like Lil Keith because I planned to have him be really impressed by the party when they met. On a whim, Lil Keith asked to hold one of the PCs named Atcher Thane's daggers, and when given it, hopped up on a table and made stabbing motions with the dagger while yelling, "I am Atcher Thane! Ha ha!" Lil Keith ended up exploring with the party and was stupidly, childishly brave. Believe it or not, the party didn't get the kid killed and actually went out of their way to make sure he was safe, even when it meant nerfing themselves. That campaign has ended, the group has disbanded, but Lil Keith is still the first thing that those guys will talk about when we talk D&D. Whatever happened to Keith anyway? Not a GM, but a player, and it wasn't a D&D campaign. It was more of a roleplay that a community I make part of has the tradition of making each season with different roleplays with different characters and different DMs, which are all members of the community itself. The season I participated was being run by a friend of mine that took some characters and threw them in a world with kingdoms, magic, and stuff, you know. Surprisingly enough, the most beloved NPCs on that season weren't even canon relevant. No, the most beloved characters were the animals. Giant blue wolves, insects and spooters, a monster tree, the pet bird from the summer princess, the hedgehog from the spring one, and the owl from the winter one. Oh, and a monkey from the autumn princess. Somehow, we still got the true ending in that season. Claude the train conductor. Claude was a middle-aged man with a slight gut dressed in a button-up shirt half tucked in with a vest and a disheveled tie. He had long, blonde hair tied messily back and slight stubble. When he bowed to greet the party, a sneering fey dragon rested on his shoulder. He gave a, welcome to the railroad. I can take you wherever you need to go. It just costs 5 gold, or your first name." He had a genuine smile and his voice like warm apple cider, but the nature of the train made him mysterious. The price would always increase depending on the option you chose. The gold would raise by 5 more gold each time you paid, but if you gave your name, it would be different each time. A lock of your hair, a confession, an ounce of blood. And the train never had set tracks. It appeared only when asked for and was always empty except for the party. The train didn't take them where they asked, but where they needed to go. They loved him and still swear that Claude was a god, even suggesting a cleric or paladin of the railroad. They also enjoyed the dynamic with the fey dragon, who wasn't a pet, but enjoyed pranking the kind man with infinite patience. Claude was literally the campaign railroad. "Welcome to MrRipper. You can stay and leave 5 gold pieces behind, or tell us your name in the comments below. Let us know who you are." I wanted to give my players a magic merchant, but I was faced with 2 problems. 1, the players were constantly on the move and did not have any sort of home base or even a city that they often returned to. And 2, most of their endeavors didn't yield monetary rewards. My need for a nomadic merchant who trades magical wares for something other than gold eventually led me to create the NPC Goblin Sorcerer, Birdsong Starchild. He's a little goblin with long gray hair, flowing pink and yellow robes, blue sunglasses, a crown of multicolored flowers, and a blue owl familiar named Daisy. Oh, and he talks like Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He trades magic items to people in exchange for their secrets. More specifically, their personal secrets, and baggage that they won't come to terms with. Basically, he was also my way of giving the Shire role players in my group an excuse to talk about their backstories without having to RP with the other players, as that was clearly not going to happen anytime soon. They encountered him in the middle of a hostile desert they were crossing. It's an exceedingly deadly place, and they had been avoiding purple worms, rocks, and other fearsome creatures when they just came across this little goblin hippie dude chilling in the middle of nowhere. They fell in love with him instantly, told him some secrets, got some magical swag, and set off on their mission to go to this haunted jungle in my campaign setting. He also mentioned to them that he has a short-tempered buddy named Darvish Bloodbag who had been in the jungle, which is odd since nobody's supposed to have ever made it out. He even gave them a sending stone that he says can reach Darvish. What the players don't know yet is that Darvish is actually Birdsong's other, less amiable personality. They have spoken to Darvish over the sending stone, but they haven't actually met him yet. Oh, I can't wait for them to talk to him again. I think you'll finally pay them a visit. Now, I can't speak for my DM, but as a player, my most beloved NPC is actually one called Errol, the Drow bard turned butler/father figure. I had been playing a bratty, half-Drow sorcerer who ran away from her human noble father in search of her Drow mother. At one point, the party stumbled upon a group of tiefling cultists who were in the middle of sacrificing a Drow after having already done the same to 5 others. He was the last one left and was crying and begging for the party to help him. Well, we did, and he noticed the spider necklace my character wore, the only thing that she had of her mother, and assumed she had been sent by Lolth to rescue him. He then vowed to serve her for the rest of his life. Oh, she happily accepted his servitude and continued on with the adventure. Now, the DM later admitted that they had assumed we would simply drop Errol off at the next town and part ways, because he was a stereotypical Drow. He hated everyone else in the party, and also couldn't speak a word of common. Well, instead, we kept him for the whole campaign. My character grew super attached to him, first for just being the only person to show her the difference she thought she was owed. But over time, he also became her confidant and first person she felt who truly cared about her. Errol himself eventually discovered that my character had no connection with Lolth, and frankly wasn't interested in worshipping the Spider Queen. But he decided that he cared about her anyway and was willing to turn his back on his god if it pleased his new charge. We even went to a wedding that he refused to attend, but he was worried about my character going without his supervision. He didn't dare rescind his refusal and instead stole the mother of the groom's dress and disguised himself as a female minstrel playing at the event just so that he could keep an eye on my character. That's kind of a happy moment, but at the same time, it's like, wow, Errol's kind of a bad boy, and I love it. So far, the favorite NPC was the female Drow Avenger of the Raven Queen. Her first appearance was single-handedly killing off the undead group of 6 that was beating the entire party literal moments ago. The funniest thing was that the Goliath barbarian with an intelligence of 6 ended up wooing her by giving his greatsword of healing, killing her ex-coworker turned lich, and helping her complete her final mission given by her god. After which, she became a housewife, raising twins in their mansion by the seaside. Some of the other hilarious things always involved her husband, like the time he summoned her while she was in the bath because he immediately used the summoning circle they received from the Raven Queen to get help during a quest. There is also the pirate crew she then was made captain of because her husband wanted to keep them, but didn't really know much about managing a crew. Lastly, every single time she asserted herself as the top of the party by being the only creature alive that could put her 8-foot muscle mass husband in the corner for doing something stupid. Everything from breaking shit to public indecency. Because putting your dick in an ancient light socket to electric charge your next attack is a foul, even if it did let him one-shot the mechanical dragon in the next room. We need names and we need deets, all right? This Drow Queen, she is on the top of my list as favorite NPCs. Beloved might be a stretch, but I did have one character who was super memorable. His name was Kaito. This took place in a sci-fi setting, so not D&D. He started out as a silly street rat character. I based him off of Short Round from Indiana Jones, and my initial plan was to kill him in this second session. Yeah, callous, but it was a great way to establish an evil threat. However, the players kind of realized what I was doing and managed to keep him alive, even though at this point he has mostly been just annoying. Meaning, I then had to make him a real character. He joined the crew as their ship's engineer and ended up becoming an incredibly popular character, as I apparently managed to thread the needle of a 10-year-old immaturity and the sincerity of a kid finally finding a home well. He ended up dying to protect a friend, and everyone was heartbroken about it. The most beloved NPC I ever made was for a D&D campaign, was more comic relief than anything else. It was an unassuming looking halfling rogue named Ernesto. But as the players later discovered, Ernesto was not just any rogue, but he was a level 20 rogue, which in this universe was essentially treated as being a deity. In addition to the normal features of being a level 20 rogue, I also joked that he'd spent years picking up proficiencies in every skill the players could access, and many that the players could not. He canonically had expertise in the rewriting reality on a whim skill. By the end of the campaign, he'd gone from a throwaway joke about how the characters hired a dagger expert to shred documents to a godlike figure who followed the PCs and stirred up drama simply for his own entertainment. Most beloved NPC, huh? Well then, there was an NPC I implemented into a campaign once. He was a level 20 bard who roamed the land and performed for anyone and everyone, and his name was the Mollusk. He also happened to be a 7-foot-tall bipedal lobster. The players were once fighting an enemy in a forest and getting destroyed, so one of them decides to roll to call out for help. Nat 20. Out of the bushes stumbles the Mollusk, which the party had seen perform just the day before. Upon seeing and recognizing the party, he steps forward and smites this enemy out of existence. The Mollusk. Toss a coin to your lobster. In my games, I try to have at least one high-level NPC who takes a shine to the party and offers them a little extra help sometimes when they need it. They won't go into combat with the party, oh no, but they will often help the party out by giving them pertinent information or teleporting them where they need to go, things like that. It gives me an in-game way to help the party get back on track when they get lost without breaking the immersion of the game. Currently, I'm running a game in my homebrew world, which has been running for almost 2 years now, and one of the main NPCs in this world is a 2-foot-tall fairy archmage named Rowena Rainbow Spirit. She wears a pink dress that is clearly meant for a 5-foot-tall woman. She is one of 2 fairies who exist in the world, so she floats and magically moves the dress as if she were taller to make people think she's human. She has pink hair to match the dress, and she's over 4,000 years old. The party goes to her for information because, in addition to being a high-level archmage, she happens to have, well, she has a scrying orb network that would make any modern world government jelly. She has 119,658 scrying orbs placed in various places all over the world, all of which are always active and can record important events so she can play them back later at her scrying station back in her tower. So every once in a while, the party will message her and be like, "Hey, Rowena, we were chasing this guy and he got away. Can you keep an eye on him and see where he goes?" Rowena has 2 main traits that makes her a party favorite. The first is that she talks really fast all the time. She has a bit of a high-pitched gremlin-like voice, and it's just funny to listen to. The other is that she is highly ADHD, to the point where she'll often blurt out completely unrelated things, sometimes relatively benign things, other times they're the introduction to whole-ass quest arcs in the middle of a conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to try to do her voice. Don't judge me. So, the good news is we know where the guy who sells the amulets does most of his business, and we know where he gets his crystals. Unfortunately, he has an item that lets him true polymorph himself all the time, so no one knows what he actually looks like. Oh, and thirder, Leonidas is never going to give you that property he promised you. Anyway, I gotta go. Bye! The party loves her, especially the 2'7" fairy barbarian mouse, as he's the only other fairy in existence in the world. I love her, and I need to know more about her. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and of course leave a comment down below letting us know what the most beloved NPC you've ever had or run was in a campaign. We love you all. Please don't ever be a stranger. Leave a comment, tell us how your day is going, and know that you are loved. We'll see you later. Bye for now. Go! Bye! The party loves her, especially the 2'7"